Hi, I'm Meris, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about different aspects of patient education. I'm going to be following along using our fundamentals flashcards. These are available on our website, leveluprn.com, if you want to grab a set for yourself. Or, if you are more of a fan of digital products, I would invite you to check out Flashables, the digital version of all of our flashcards available on demand and at your fingertips wherever you go. All right, let's get started. So first up, I want to talk to you about the domains of learning. And the three domains of learning are based off of Bloom's taxonomy, which helps us understand information about learning. And the point here is that when we target an individual in these three areas together, not just one, the second, or the third, we are actually going to increase their understanding, the importance of the material, their retention of the material, and so forth, because we're getting multiple parts of that person's brain and emotional feeling and motor system involved. So let's talk about them. The first one here is going to be cognitive. And cognitive simply means that it's going to involve my intellect or thinking. So cognition, right? The cognitive domain of learning is going to involve cognition, thinking about. So this is where, for instance, maybe we're just going to educate a patient about the new diet that they need to be on for their blood sugar control. You know, a patient was recently diagnosed as diabetic, type 2 diabetic. We're going to teach them about the diabetic diet. And when they are learning about it, if all we're doing is teaching them the information, then they are using the cognitive domain. Now, moving on to the next one, we're going to talk about psychomotor. And psychomotor is going to involve some kind of an action, some sort of physicality or some sort of movement. And this is where we are going to bring in that motor component where not only am I having to think about it, but I'm involving my motor skills too. That's going to strengthen that pathway for sure. And a great example of how we could do this with our type 2 diabetic patient here is going to be when a patient is learning and demonstrating how to give themselves insulin injections. So by practicing administering their own injections, they are using some physicality, some action to draw up the medication, to use the alcohol swab, to inject it. They're using their psychomotor domain of learning. And lastly, we're going to talk about the affective domain of learning. And when we think about the affective domain, I always think of this is how it is affecting the patient. So when we're talking about the domain of learning that is affective, we're talking about something that's involving feelings or emotions. How do I feel about this, right? So if I am a little bit scared, I was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and I'm a little bit scared, I'm realizing that this condition could negatively impact my life. And so I'm motivated and I want to learn. And I'm going to start looking for some things that can help me learn how to mitigate those effects. Then I'm using the affective domain of learning. Now, I want to move right on to talk to you about health literacy. Now, health literacy is basically what it sounds like. It is essentially how able is your patient able to gather, learn, and process information related to their own health and to medicine, right? So just because I'm very literate, maybe I'm an attorney, and so my job is very, very intense when it comes to using big words and all of these things. That does not mean that I am necessarily health literate. Do I understand what these words mean? Do I understand what it means to have a chronic condition versus an acute condition? Do I understand how this is going to affect me? All of these things go into health literacy. The more health literate your patient is, the more ease you will have in providing patient education. However, most of the time our patients are not incredibly health literate because they don't exist within this field, right? So it is our job to make sure that we are teaching to everyone and that we are able to meet people where they are, not where we are. Some of the ways we can do that would be by doing things that are going to help our patients learn. So here are some of those things that we can do to aid learning. If my patient has an intrinsic motivation, meaning that they feel motivated to learn this information because of themselves, I just found out I have type 2 diabetes and I do not want to experience the complications of type 2 diabetes, so I am here and ready to learn. That is intrinsic motivation. That is going to help our patients with their education. A quiet learning environment is also incredibly important. And what I want to say about this is that I understand as an ER nurse that it's not always going to be an option for there to be a quiet environment. I have to provide patient education in the emergency room because that's where I work, right? However, are there things that we can do to provide for a quieter environment? Can I close the door? Can I turn off the TV? Can I make sure to silence my notifications from my Vocera or my Volt phone, right? Whatever it is. Do what you can to reduce the interruptions, the stimulus, just the onslaught of additional information that this person's brain has to process, and bring it down to just the base things. The other thing that can help aid learning would be mild anxiety, such as I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this condition that I was just diagnosed with, right? I'm feeling a little bit anxious about it, but that's good. It's giving me that eustress, that good stress to aid learning. But here are some things that we should avoid because they hinder our patient's learning process. One of those is going to be if we have decreased physical strength, coordination, or mobility. And I don't mean that this hinders our ability to learn in general, but just keep in mind that a lot of the education that we will be doing is about things that involve that psychomotor component. I need to teach you how to give yourself an injection or how to take an inhaler, right? These things could be hindered if our patient doesn't have the dexterity that is required. That doesn't mean that we just get to not teach them and hope they figure it out. It's our job to find a way to be more accessible and get them the information that they need. Medical jargon, meaning these highfalutin words that we use, right, should be avoided at all costs, because even if my patient speaks medical, right, even if I'm talking to a patient who is a physician, when you are the patient, your ability to understand what's going on in that conversation becomes very different. This is where you will hear people say, "Explain it to me like I'm 5," right? It's because I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. We should not be using medical jargon to talk to our patients, even when they also work in the medical field. Visual or hearing deficits, again, if I'm talking to my patient and I'm not considering the fact that they cannot necessarily see what I'm showing them, or maybe that they're not hearing what I'm saying, this patient might just be doing the, oh, yep, got it, right? I must consider these things. Do I need to provide my patient with their hearing aids or their corrective lenses? Do I need to turn the lights on or move my body closer and speak in a lower tone? What do you need to do to make sure that this patient can receive this information? And then, of course, the presence of symptoms. If my patient is experiencing pain or something like moderate to severe anxiety, then this is not a good time for us to focus on learning. We need to address those needs first so that my patient can be in the optimal position to learn the things that I need to teach them. Now let's talk about some instructional methods. So one of the biggest ones is going to be written materials. This is something that we're going to provide with our after visit summary or our discharge instructions, where we tell the patient, like, here's what we saw you for, and here's what you need to know, here's how to take your medications, etc. I want to provide my patient with those written materials so that they have them to look back on, but a couple of things that we need to keep in mind. Number one, the written materials must be provided to their patient in their preferred and predominant language. If my patient predominantly speaks Spanish at home, but they also speak English, I'm going to ask them, which language would you prefer the instructions be provided to you in? It's just that easy. I don't need to speak that language. I can just click the box that says Spanish and it will provide me with those instructions. The other thing is that I just want to remind you that providing only written instruction is never sufficient, okay? It is never enough to only provide written education to our patients. We must also do these other things. So demonstration is going to be showing a patient how a skill is performed, such as showing them how to use crutches first. And then we can also use other types of training or educational methods, such as simulation devices, videos, websites, books, what have you. There's a lot of different ways that our patients can receive the information that we have to give them, which is what is so great about being a health educator and getting to find those ways to teach your patient in their preferred learning capacity. Now, the evaluation method is one of the most important things because I need to know that the patient understood the things that I just told them and that they weren't just giving me that, sure, I got it all, right? So, how do I do that? The best way for me to correctly gauge that my patient understands the material that I have provided them is with the teach back method. And what this means is that I'm going to ask that patient to teach me the things that I just told them. And it does not have to be this long and complicated thing. It can be my patient that I'm discharging from the emergency room. I tell them that they're being prescribed a new antibiotic, that they need to take this antibiotic in the morning with food and then again with dinner with food. They're going to take it until it runs out and they're not going to stop early. If they have nausea or vomiting, they can give us a call and we can prescribe them something to help with that. Then I'm going to say, tell me how you take the medicines we just provided you. And my hope is that the patient will say, I'm going to take it twice a day with food. I'm going to take it until it's done, even if I feel better. And if I need nausea medicine, I'll give you a call. Great. I can now confirm this patient does understand the material that I taught them. All right, and now to confirm whether or not you understand the material that I just taught you, I'm so glad you stayed until the end because I'm going to test your knowledge of key facts provided in this video with some quiz questions. Which domain of learning is at work when a patient shows the nurse how to use their new EpiPen? The psychomotor domain. The nurse wishes to provide education about a patient's new medication, but the patient is experiencing mild anxiety. How should the nurse proceed? Continue with the education, as mild anxiety can aid learning. What is the best way to assess a patient's comprehension of the education provided? The teach back method. All right, that is it for this video. I do hope you learned something. If you did, would you leave us a comment and let us know something you learned? And hey, if you have a great way of remembering something that I didn't mention, leave that as a comment too. We like seeing it, but I know it's beneficial to other learners as well. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much and happy studying. I do have a story to tell you about patient education, and the moral of this story is that you genuinely do have to teach people things that are perhaps a given to you, okay? Um, this happened, this is a story that happened to me. This is not made up. I'm not telling you some, story that a friend of a friend told me, okay? This is a real thing. My dad was an OB-GYN, and I used to work for him in his office, and I answered the phone one day, and the patient called and said, I'm having a problem with the medication that was just prescribed to me. And I said, oh, can I get some more information from you? What medication was prescribed? And the patient said NuvaRing. And NuvaRing is a form of birth control. It's a flexible plastic ring that is inserted vaginally and kept there for 3 days, for 3 weeks, and then removed for the 4th week. And I said, oh no, what's happened with the NuvaRing? And she said, I am having some kind of really bad reaction to it. My skin is turning like bluish purple. And I said, oh my gosh. And I said, well, let me send your message to the doctor, but go ahead and stop that medication, And as it turns out, when we got this patient to come back for follow-up, it was because she had been wearing the NuvaRing around her wrist. She did not understand that this medication was to be inserted vaginally. This was something that it didn't even occur to any of us in the office to say because, again, not because we're bad at our job, but just because we're so used to it that it didn't occur to us that, oh, this patient doesn't know that this ring is to be inserted vaginally. The directions from the pharmacy said, insert one ring for 3 weeks, remove on the 4th week, something like that. So just because you think it's obvious does not mean that it's obvious. I've also had patients who have told me that they're prescribed something to take twice a day, and that I often forget, so I just take 2 pills in the morning, right? This, again, patient education that we need to do. Do not take for granted the knowledge you have and the fact that other patients may not be as health literate.
We invite you to subscribe to our channel and share a link with your classmates and friends in nursing school. And if you found value in this video, be sure to hit that like button and let us know what you found to be particularly helpful.